Hello everybody and welcome back to Pravus Gaming and more Tekkit. As a business venture, our quick service restaurant McPravus has been a resounding success. Turns out that's pretty easy to do when you have a monopoly on the town's food supply. But what I'm discovering is that the real money is in health services. Who knew that you could charge exorbitant prices for basic cures and get away with it? And people will pay. It's amazing. So we set up a basic health clinic over here, and you can see that business is indeed booming. It's very simple, of course. All we do is get people to eat a McPravus. They gain the zombie plague. They come over to us for a cure. We set them under quarantine for observation for a little while, give them a little bit of a prick with the cure. They get cured, and they go right back to eating the food, which starts the cycle all over again. It's like self-perpetuating money. Some people might say that this is a horribly immoral practice. I say that I am just filling market needs. They needed food, I gave them food. That food causes a zombie plague, I found a cure for the zombie plague. There's always a market incentive as long as there's profit to be had. Speaking of profits, I did experiment with Mystcraft in between videos, and I did come up with a world that actually has a reasonable number of villages inside of it. Which means, if I want to, I could start this whole chain all over again and multiply my profits times 5. It's amazing. What I did is I created a very simple flat world, which actually there used to be some waypoints, but apparently quitting the game deletes those waypoints. Very irritating. No problem, I'm pretty sure if I just travel north, south, east, or west, I will stumble across one of those villages. There's one of them. You can see there's a pretty healthy population over here. Super duper convenient. So yeah, all I have to do is sabotage their food supply and the whole cycle starts all over again, and I will become filthy, stinking rich. In addition to a couple of those different worlds, though, I did find a way to create proper biomed worlds. For example, an ocean of liquid yellowite. That's all that it is. It is one giant endless ocean of liquefied yellowite, and apparently a flaming pillar of oil? Well, now that's just mildly terrifying, isn't it? The solution ended up being pretty straightforward. All I had to do was create a world with a single biome and an ocean, fill in some basic lighting and sun and other features like that, and then toward the end, just place down the liquid yellowite block page, or cyanite, or whatever I want, honestly, and maybe something else like a stone block. And what that does by default, apparently, is it overwrites all the stone and water with whatever 2 blocks you place down here. There is a page called Standard Terrain that you could use, and those then become the modifiers of the Standard Terrain. That way you guarantee it works that way. But for some reason I have not been able to find that page despite hours of searching in various Mystcraft worlds, so we went without it, and it worked just freaking fine. In one of those experiments, I also was able to come up with a world with lakes, huge lakes, of resonant ender, as well as some nether fortresses and perpetual storms. Really cool world, I would say. But perhaps the most valuable world that I have created is an ocean of pure fuel. Rocket fuel, specifically. I will never have to mine and refine oil into beautiful fuel. It's just right here, a practically unlimited source. Which means, on top of the huge increase in income, I think it is time to start experimenting with rocketry. I do want to experiment with different methods of extracting this fuel, though, because it'd be very easy to just pop in here, pump a lot of it out, and then just manually lug tanks through the dimensions. That'd be easy. What I want to know is if I can use tesseracts as effectively. So what I'm going to try to do is make use of one of these BC Factory pumps. Now, if you've seen Buildcraft and Tekkit Classic, you already know what you're in for. It's a mining well plus a tank, which is just, you know, a bunch of glass. And then a mining well is an iron pickaxe, an iron gear, some redstone, and iron. Same recipe it's always been. Enderman, I see you there. Die! Die! Whoop! I am taking a bath in the fuel, and probably using a jetpack is not the best idea, but okay. Hey, free ender pearl. Anyway, let's go ahead and place the pump right here. Now, if I can find a way to power it, it should automatically extend, well, a pump into the fuel and start extracting. Now, what I think I might be able to do, and I want to see if this works, is place down a tesseract right here. And we're going to set this thing to a frequency of 200, which is our power frequency. I'm going to set this to receive energy only. There we go. And if I hook it up with a conduit, it may very well work. Now, I need a place to put the fuel. And this is where I don't know if I need to use cobblestone fluid pipes or if I can use the fluid ducts from thermal expansion. We're going to try that out. I did bring along a reinforced tank, but if you haven't seen the drums before from the Extra Utilities mod, they actually are far superior. Drums require a bunch of iron, a weighted pressure plate, which again is just iron, and a cauldron, which again is just iron. So if you have plenty of iron to work with, you can come with a drum. And as opposed to let's say a reinforced tank, which can hold, I think it was 32 buckets, a drum can hold 256. They are a far superior storage mechanism if you are going to use them. For now, though, let's just go ahead and get a basic drum set up. I'm not going to do anything too fancy. I'm going to try using the fluid ducts if possible. And we're going to set you up like so. I have no idea if this is going to work or not. And then let's get our power conduit. And we're going to try setting up some power. Doink. Okay. Oh, yes. Hey, this totally works. We are already extracting a monumental amount of fuel. Look at it go. 15 buckets, 16, 17, 18. Oh my gosh, I can get so much fuel forever and ever and ever. This is amazing. Okay, hang on. But I don't want to do this yet. I want to go one step further. Since we now know we can teleport power between Mistcraft dimensions using the power of the Tesseract, that should mean I can also retrieve fuel and send that through a Tesseract back into our world. Can I just pick you up? Yeah, there we go. That'll work. So let's go ahead and take another Tesseract, because this is why I wanted it. I'm going to place you right here. And I'm going to take a fluid duct. Well, let's not hook it up quite yet. Let's instead set up a frequency. Let's say this one's 300, specifically for fuel. And I want it to send out only fluids. There we go. That is the only thing this is going to do, is send fluids, and then back home, I can receive. So right over here, I'm going to place down a Tesseract and that drum we have been looking at before. Place you here, and another fluid duct. I'm going to set you to be at 300. Check. See, it already has the fuel, so you know exactly what you're working with, and I want it to receive fluids only. Perfect. Then we hook it on up like so. Out goes the fuel. And for some reason, it is not working. It's a little on the disappointing side. What did I mess up? Will a tank work any better? Nope. It is using up power and receiving power, so that should be fine. Send only. What am I missing? Y'all do send and receive just to be safe? Ah, well, you can't always get what you want, but at least we can supply the power consistently to keep the pump a-running, so I don't have to set up my own generator in this world. And with 3 drums filling up, that's plenty of storage capacity. Whenever I need fuel, I can just pop in here, mine up 1 drum, and head back home. Not really a big deal. It just would have been a little bit more convenient. Now let's get started with Galactic Crafts. Oh man, this is going to be exciting. This is like the mod that everyone gets excited about in Tekkit, right? Pretty sure. Galactic Craft, the ability to make your own rocket ships and travel to the moon, to a space station, to Mars, or other things. There are many, many, many components to Galactic Craft that we are going to have to take advantage of. Let's start with some of the bare basics. Now, one of the first things we are going to need with Galactic Craft is a power source. Now, I think maybe our big reactors will work. I don't remember if the conduits do convert. We'll test that out a little bit. But Galactic Craft does have a couple of different methods of generating proper power. You can either use some sort of a coal generator, which, as you would expect, works very similar to how it does in, say, Industrial Craft, and it's not very efficient. You keep tossing in fuel and you get some electricity. Alternatively, you want to build up some solar panels. So this is the first thing I want to start building, but they do require a few materials we've never seen before. And by a few, I mean all of them. First things first, we need compressed steel. Only way you can make this is by using an ingot compressor. That requires some compressed iron and coal, and apparently spruce wood? Or probably some sort of a fuel source, if I had to guess. What's compressed iron? Well, it's just iron that, again, has some fuel and just compresses down the block. So I guess the first thing we want to get is an ingot compressor. There it is right there. For that, we are going to need an anvil, some aluminum ingots, copper, and basic wafers. Now, anvils aren't that hard to make. I don't care about slightly damaged anvils. Can I see the real one? There we go. That's just blocks of iron with regular iron. Aluminum, well, we can finally make use of the aluminum ore that we've been mining this whole time. Copper, no biggie. What the heck is a basic wafer? This is going to require a whole different machine, a circuit fabricator. And a circuit fabricator is manufactured using redstone torches, buttons, a furnace, aluminum ingots, a lever, and aluminum wire. Aluminum wire is just wool surrounding some aluminum ingots. Finally, something we can manufacture. We'll go ahead and get started with that, but unfortunately, all that stuff is going to require some basic amount of power just to get started. So I do think we need to build the coal generator, at least temporarily, and then we will migrate over to solar power. The coal generator then requires some copper, iron, aluminum wire, and furnaces. Okay, let's fabricate some circuits. I'm going to place my coal generator right over here, and then run over a little bit of wiring this way, and then place down my circuit fabricator, well, maybe not right there. Does the wrench work on this? Ooh, you can rotate it around this way, though. Oh, that's kind of nifty. Yeah, that's one of the things I'm not really a big fan of with Galactic Crafts, though. Specific sides have the inputs and outputs. You really have to rotate them around in order to make it work. Very irritating, but oh well. The circuit fabricator, how does this thing work? Well, it makes wafers, either basic or advanced. Hang on, I think I can look up the recipe for that. There it is. The basic wafer requires a diamond, some raw silicon, redstone, and a redstone torch. Not too hard to come by. The diamond's a little bit unpleasant. If we want to replace the redstone torch instead with a redstone repeater, though, that would create an advanced wafer, which is used for some of the more advanced recipes, as you might have guessed. Let's start by just making some basic wafers. Now, that doesn't currently have any power. Easily solved, though. Now, a coal generator apparently generates whole heat. I'm not entirely sure what that means. I think it has to get up to like a certain amount of heat before you're really going to see any voltage coming out. There we go. Now we're generating some kilowatts. Okay, if we go over here, it is running, but very slowly because we're still not generating very much power. I guess this is a good opportunity to go ahead and test if the tesseracts do work. What if I place one right here, for example? Set this thing to, I think it was 200. No, I don't want fuel. There we go. Set this thing to receive power, place right here, and does this work? Well, yes, indeed it does. Sorry, coal generator, you have already been rendered obsolete. Tesseracts are amazing, man. It's the only thing I can say. All right, we've got ourselves a couple of basic wafers. So let's go ahead and create ourselves one of those compressors we've been talking about using the basic wafer, and ba-boom. Place the compressor right there, for example. No, not quite hooked up. Where's the thing? Oh, wait, the compressor doesn't require anything, does it? Unless it's an electric version. Never mind, we can use our coal for this. Okay. We wanted to start with just a bit of compressed iron. So if I do, let's say, this. There we go. Should use up some of that fuel and compress out a few plates for us. While that thing's working, let's remind ourselves of our overall goal here. We wanted to make the solar panel, which required the compressed steel, which again is iron with some coal. We have that available. Let's move on to the next thing, though. We would need a steel pole. Steel pole is just a bunch of compressed steel. Easy enough. More basic wafers, more wires. What about a full solar panel? Solar panel requires some aluminum wire and then single solar modules. Solar modules require glass wiring and blue solar wafers. Blue solar wafers are the same thing as ever with circuits, but instead of a redstone torch or repeater, you need a lapis lazuli. Fortunately, you get a full 9 of those panels every time, so we should be able to generate quite a few solar panel fragments that we can turn into the solar panels themselves. Now, let's see. If I go ahead and grab some of you guys and say, forget this for a minute, let's go ahead and start making some steel. Actually, one thing I might want to do immediately is just go ahead and upgrade this thing from a regular compressor up to an electric compressor so we don't even have to worry about filling it up with fuel ever again. Let's see, that requires some compressed steel, which I'm already making, an advanced wafer, which I showed you how to do, compressed bronze, which is exactly what you would think it'd be, plus some more anvils and aluminum wire. Did I just say what you think it'd be? What you'd think it would be, is what I meant to say. It's not what came out of my mouth. The added advantage of the electric compressor is it appears to work twice as fast, which I'm a huge fan of. Woo! This is way better. We know we are going to need a few advanced wafers, so let's go ahead and manufacture those. And in the meantime, I'm going to build up a couple of steel poles like so. Now, I don't think we want to use the basic solar panels. I mean, I don't ever do anything basic, right? The problem with basic solar panels is they really only generate power as long as the sun is right above them. The advantage of the advanced solar panels is they actually rotate to match with the sun, which is a really cool looking feature, and the recipe is not all that different. Really, the only difference is what type of wafer you use, and then for the heavy aluminum wire, you just need to add in a little bit of extra aluminum and wool, which is really not that expensive. So for a very minor extra cost, you can have significantly more advanced or more efficient solar panels, which is what we're going to do today. So we're going to go ahead and make a whole bunch of solar panels by doing all this with our glass and our wires like so. Bunch of single solar modules, and then those go right. They go with more wiring like this. There we go, and then boom, and then there we go. We have 3 full solar panels. Combine all of these together in a crafting bench, and lo and behold, 3 advanced solar panels. Let's go place these. I will place one right here. Ooh, there we go. Look at that thing go. Look at it go. Where is the sun? There it is. Beautiful. And look at the track. Look at the track. That's so cool. Okay, we're going to place one right there, and one right here, and then one right here. 3 functioning advanced solar panels. Now, we don't need power right now, but I still wanted to build these to show you guys how these work, because you can imagine this will be very convenient for power generation once I do go to the moon or to Mars or whatever. I mean, sure, I could build a big reactor on the moon, but this is way faster and it's portable. Of course, we're also going to need a method of storing said power, and Galactic Craft should have some sort of a battery module. Well, we do have batteries themselves. Ah, there it is, the energy storage module, which requires batteries and more of that compressed steel. You can see we're going to need a lot of compressed metals. I mean, seriously, this particular mod really likes to compress your metals. Batteries are made using compressed tin, surprise, surprise, plus some redstone and some coal. Not too difficult to make. So we'll just go ahead and create a few of those, plus a couple of batteries with the steel like so, and now we have an energy storage module, which I think if we just hook this up over, hook this up over here, there we go. Now we're generating some kilowattage. But for some reason, none of it's getting stored in the module again, and that's because I'm pretty sure it is supposed to go in the red side, like so. There it is. There it is. All right, energy storage. Figured that out. Okay, so we have some circuit fabrication. We can compress up some plates. What else are we going to need in space? How about oxygen? Oxygen's kind of important. Gosh, can you imagine what would happen if we did not include oxygen? Now, there's a few doohickeys involved with oxygen. We have the oxygen collector, the compressor, the decompressor, and the bubble distributor. Now, these 2 aren't too relevant to me yet, at least not until we get into space, but the collector's pretty important. It collects oxygen. Who would have guessed? You then send it into a compressor, which is how you get your air tanks, your oxygen tanks, filled up with oxygen. If we were to go into space and we build up a new space base, and we wanted to give it an atmosphere, then what we could do is then take a full oxygen tank, dump it into a decompressor, and it would start to create an atmosphere. At least I think that's how that works. Alternatively, we could feed oxygen into a bubble distributor, which tries to create air in kind of a little area. I don't know how big the bubble is, though. That gets kind of complicated. We'll worry about that when we actually get into space. So how do you make the collector? Well, this one's a little bit more complicated. This requires some steel. Yes, it also requires aluminum. Okay. An oxygen fan. What's an oxygen fan? That requires steel, redstone, and a basic wafer. All right. A tin canister, which is just a bunch of tin, and an oxygen vent, which is compressed steel and compressed tin. Then we need an oxygen concentrator. Now, this requires another oxygen vent, a compressed steel, tin, and another tin canister. So we're going to need a whole bunch more plates. So let's go ahead and build out a couple of these oxygen collectors, because I know I'm going to need quite a few of them, or at least a couple eventually when we get to space. I did take some time to go ahead and compress a whole load of plates, because I know I'm going to need a bunch of, well, pretty much all of them. So for now, let's just go ahead and make a full stack of all that stuff. All right, so there's our oxygen collectors. Now, in order to transport the oxygen we collect to the compressor, we are going to need some oxygen pipes. Those aren't hard to make, they just require a bunch of glass panes, which of course I have a few available. We'll do this, and there's a whole bunch, 40 of them. Now, the decompressors aren't too hard to make. We're just going to need a lot of these plates. We'll use a couple of compressed bronze, some compressed aluminum, I think like this, and then steel. There we go. 2 more compressors. Now, if I hook up an oxygen collector like so, I think that should power it nicely. And you can actually see a slight particle effect here, suggesting that, yes, indeed, it is collecting oxygen, which I think this is the end we want to use with the tubing. What about the compressor? Can I place you right here? Seems that way, and yes, that must be an input. Okay, so we'll use the oxygen pipes like so, and I think that's it. Yeah, there we go. We have input power and then input H2O. Well, H2O is water. Don't you mean O2? Oxygen? Huh, weird. All right, well, either way, we're going to need an oxygen tank in order to start compressing this. Now, what does it take to get an oxygen tank? There's a few different kinds, and all of them have different capacities. We have the light oxygen tank, which requires lime wool, which is a lime dye, very different from green, plus tin canister, plus compressed copper. All right. The next one up would be a medium oxygen tank, which requires 2 tin canisters, 2 compressed tin, and 2 orange wool, or the heavy oxygen tank, which has the highest capacity, which requires 3 canisters, 3 steel, and 3 red wool, which is no problem for me. There is a heavy oxygen tank right there. Now, if we take it over to the compressor, we should be able to dump it in right here. It is now active and gradually filling. Of course, having the oxygen's not going to be all that helpful if I'm not able to actively breathe it. Most people at this point would want to come up with an oxygen mask, which is glass surrounding an iron helmet, and some oxygen gear, which is another one of those oxygen concentrators, plus some oxygen pipe. But I think with the power suits mod, we should have some other options. There it is, the airtight seal. It just requires 1 glass? Huh. Seal the suit against hostile atmospheres for venturing to other planets. Well, that sounds all well and good, but how does it actually provide me with oxygen? Unless we're assuming that my suit naturally recycles and scrubs the carbon dioxide I'm breathing. Is that a thing? Maybe I'll just go ahead and build up the other oxygen equipment just to be safe. Actually, this is where this extra little tab comes in handy, right over your character. If I click on this, there's my armor, but here's some other Galactic Craft related stuff. I can place the oxygen gear here, an oxygen mask if I need it, which does create a little box around my helmet. Maybe that's why we have the airtight seal, just so you don't look dorky having a box clipping through your helmet. That could be. And we'll place a couple of full heavy oxygen tanks as well. Okay, great, we can breathe. What are some of these other things that we're going to need? I think this one is called a frequency modulator, which if you don't have one of those hooked up, then you won't be able to hear any sounds on the moon or Mars or wherever you end up going. There you go, can receive weak sound waves and distant signals. Not an absolutely necessary component, but I wouldn't say it's a bad thing to have. That takes a redstone repeater, some basic wafers, redstone, and compressed iron, and aluminum. Let's go ahead and retrieve my repeater, and let's build one. There we go. Grab one of those, and we will pop that into my helmet, which apparently attaches this awesome little radar dish. Oh, that looks cool! All right, I like it. Also, we're going to need a parachute. Now, a parachute is how we are not going to die if we fall out of the spaceship or something. I don't know. There are different colored ones for the Galactic Craft core, and this one's specifically for the power suits. I don't think that's what we want. Let's create a basic parachute that requires string plus canvas. Canvas requires sticks and even more string. Go ahead and grab some of that canvas like so. Place like that. String. I got no strings to hold me. Up or down, who knows. Parachutes. And I'm going to go ahead and color this thing purple, because I like the color purple. It's my favorite color. Place. There we go. All right. As far as our personal equipment, I think we are good to go. We do have our circuit fabricator compressor and our oxygen collecting and compressing. The next big step then, of course, is going to be to start building the spaceship itself, or at least have the equipment to do so. And for that, we're going to need, what is it called? The NASA something or another. There it is, the NASA workbench. This thing's kind of cool looking. This requires an advanced wafer, some levers, steel, a crafting table, and a redstone torch. And if you place it down right over here, ooh, kind of a cool looking block. It actually takes up a 3x3 area, technically. And I don't even think this thing requires any power, but this is the workbench you use to actually build your spaceship. And there's a lot of things that you would freaking need. Can we actually see the recipe from over here? Yeah, we can. All right. We're going to need a nose cone, some heavy-duty plates, which these are only tier 1. That is compressed bronze, aluminum, and steel compressed together. Plus, well, actually, we didn't look at the nose cone. Hang on. That requires, again, heavy-duty plates and a redstone torch. A rocket engine, which requires tin, oxygen vents, more platage, buttons, a flint and steel to go ahead and get that fire a-rolling, and some fins, which again, more heavy-duty plates and compressed steel. The tier 1 rocket's not all that difficult to make, really. It just takes a lot of materials. But once we get it, we should be more or less good to go. There's actually 3 more spaces right up here. And this is where you can place some chests, which gives your rocket some storage space, which I would say is kind of important. Can you imagine launching myself up into space with no equipment whatsoever? I leave all the bricks behind by accident. Well, good frickin' luck, you're stuck. So we're just gonna go ahead and start making a frick ton of these plates. That's gonna take a little while. But in order to launch our rocket, which we still haven't built, we are going to need a couple other things. We're gonna need a launch pad, which is, there it is, rocket launch pad. And this is made using iron and blocks of iron. So tons and tons of iron, but you get 9, and that's exactly what you need. So you only have to build this once. Plus, we are going to need a cargo loader and a cargo unloader. The cargo loader is a hopper with a chest, some aluminum, and some steel. The unloader is the same recipe, but inverted. So things fall out instead of in. And then lastly, we are going to need a fuel loader as well. That requires some compressed steel, a wafer, aluminum, and a tin canister. This is the thing that actually loads the fuel into your rocket. Speaking of fuel, I wonder how much fuel we've got at this point. I actually don't know. Does the Tesseract run automatically even when I'm out of the world? No, it appears it does not. Well, darn. That actually may be the reason the Tesseracts weren't working earlier. I need a chunk loader. Do I actually have chunk loaders? Are those in this mod pack? Hang on. Chunk loader by Mine Factory Reloaded. Oh my gosh, it's expensive as frickin' heck. Holy crud. What about chicken chunks? Ender pearl, gold, and an enchantment table. I kind of like that a little bit better. Chunk loader from Steve's Carts. I don't even want to get into that nonsense. Okay, chunk loaders. Let's make a couple of these. Just like so. Okay, I don't actually use, I've never used chicken chunks, chunk loaders before, but hey, if they work, this could be amazing. So let's place one of these down over here. Hopefully that doesn't crash my game or anything. And let's actually go ahead and try this again. Have I figured out the mystery to the fuel transportation? We'll try placing the drum here, plus a fluid duct, and oh, it totally works! That was the issue, we just didn't have any chicken chunks. I'll just place this right here, and now we can teleport the fuel. Oh my gosh. Seriously, guys, with the power of Mistcraft and knowing how to create worlds, especially with liquid oceans, I mean, you have almost infinite... How'd you get out of your cage? Purge! Wait, he's not actually out of his cage, he's just glitching. What was I saying? Oh, right. With the ocean biomes and the right liquid blocks, you really can make worlds of infinite frickin' resources. Like Yellowrite. I don't even know how you dump liquid Yellowrite into your reactors, but there's gotta be a way. In which case, I will never run out of power, ever. Not to mention the gelid cryothium and the resonant ender. Wow, that's a powerful tool. Believe it or not, we're actually very close to being able to go to the moon, but I'm gonna have to call this episode here because I am kind of short on time this week. So, next video, we are going to set up the launch pad, get the loaders ready to go, build up our actual Tier 1 rocket, since I do now have some plates to work with. And with the rocket, we will go to the moon, and we'll try to find, like, the meteor rocks or whatever, smelt that down, and then create a moon base with a full oxygen seal, which should be kind of fun. Thank you all for watching. I do hope you are excited for the next video when we launch into the spaces. If so, then I ask that you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.